To practice scales alternating CMI, play each note 3 times at first and then each note once. There are 4 sets of chord and arpeggio studies: thumb in 1 finger, thumb in 2 fingers, thumb in 3 fingers, and thumb in 4 fingers. The object is to add the little finger to the technique by combining it with the other fingers and increasing density, allowing the right hand to adjust to a position that will accommodate all 5 fingers in any combination. I will demonstrate a few of the simpler examples from each set that involve the little finger. Initially, the unused right hand fingers of each exercise can be taught to relax and be independent by gently touching or preparing on the unused strings in a proper playing position as shown in these examples. The studies for thumb and 1 finger are divided into 4 groups: P and I, P and M, P and A, and P and C. In the P and C group, play parallel 13ths in the key of F major up and down the 1st and 5th strings, resting the unused A, M, and I fingers on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th strings in a proper playing position. And also, for the exercises for PIC from the 6 sets of studies for thumb and 2 fingers, play parallel tenths up and down the 1st and 4th strings in the key of D major, playing bass notes on the 5th and 6th strings with the 6th string tuned to D. At first, the unused M and A fingers of the right hand can be taught to relax and be independent by gently touching or preparing on the 2nd and 3rd strings in a proper playing position. Now play the following right hand patterns utilizing this progression. For the exercises for P, I, M, and C from the 4 sets of studies for thumb and 3 fingers, Use a progression of parallel triads in the key of E major up and down the 3rd, 4th, and 5th strings while playing the open 1st and 6th strings as pedal tones. At first, the unused ring finger can be taught to relax and be independent by gently touching, preparing, on the 2nd string in a proper playing position. Now play the following 4 right-hand patterns up and down this progression. For the 138 exercises using all 5 fingers, play parallel triads in the key of A major up and down the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th strings while playing the open 1st, 5th, and 6th strings as pedal tones. Now play the following 5 right-hand patterns up and down this progression. The tremolo studies progress the right hand through the standard 3- and 4-note tremolo patterns to a tremolo pattern that uses all 5 fingers in what I call a completed tremolo, with a melody note played by the little finger simultaneously with each thumb bass note to produce an uninterrupted tremolo melody. For tremolo studies, use the same progression of parallel triads in E major that is used for the thumb and 3 fingers, PIMC. Now play the following tremolo patterns up and down this progression. When playing right-hand harmonics, touch the note with the index finger and pluck the string with the little finger. The extra separation of the little finger from the index finger gives it more mechanical leverage to produce, in combination with the extra strength, a stronger harmonic sound than with the ring finger. To practice right-hand harmonics, use a progression of parallel thirds in E major, up and down the third and fourth strings, up to the seventh position, while playing the open first, second, and sixth strings as pedal tones. The following exercises are for natural octave harmonics with the note at the 12th fret and can be applied to the other natural harmonics and to artificial harmonics as well. These studies begin with just 2 notes at a time, a bass and a harmonic note, and increase in density to 3- and 4-note chords, which include the harmonic. To develop coordination, it is best to initially separate the harmonic tones from the accompanying note or notes. Then play them as close together as possible, and finally, the desired result, play the harmonic and the accompanying notes simultaneously. First, playing 2 notes at a time, bass and harmonic. And now, 4-note chords that include the harmonic. The little finger is potentially the best finger on the right hand to play melodies in conjunction with a single bass note, usually alternating with the middle finger, a chord, or an arpeggio accompaniment. The little finger has more musculature than the other fingers, and when properly trained, can play much stronger than the weakest ring finger, the finger presently used to play most melody notes in the standard 4-finger right hand technique. All melody notes should be played stronger than the accompanying notes. The following studies are to be played over the E major triad progression from the previous tremolo studies. A single bass note accompanying the melody. The thumb and 2 fingers accompanying the melody. Now, the thumb and three fingers accompanying the melody. After thoroughly learning the progressions for each group of exercises, and after many repetitions, the guitarist may wish to alter the progressions in a manner that will retain the interest of both the ear and the mind and renew the interest in studying these exercises. The left hand should be automatic in its function so as not to interfere with the objective of these studies, which is the training of the right hand. Therefore, no alterations should be attempted until the diatonic ones sound so familiar that the guitarist wishes to hear something more interesting. I will now demonstrate a chromatic variation of the E major progression from the previous section and make use of it for the final section of this video. The Right Hand Studies for Five Fingers book contains more than 350 exercises and is intended to train and prepare the entire right hand for the many different chord, arpeggio, tremolo, and harmonic patterns that the guitarist will encounter in the standard repertoire. And these studies are intended to prepare the guitarist to more quickly solve other patterns not contained in this book that might occur. At the end of the book, I have chosen 4 standard repertoire pieces from the Homage to Villa-Lobos book and CD to demonstrate how the guitarist can invent specific studies similar to those in the book to master specific right hand problems in certain sections. The sections chosen take advantage of the little finger. Using the Villa-Lobos Prelude No. 2 as an example, the middle section of this piece is an excellent arpeggio study for the use of all 5 fingers of the right hand. Use the chromatic variation of the E major progression for the following 4 exercises. Practice measure 1 as follows. And practice measures 1 and 2 as follows. Then practice measures 5 and 6 as follows. Now practice the complete pattern. While this video ends here, there is never a conclusion to right hand development. It is hoped that the ideas and exercises in this work present a basis for the guitarist to begin or continue the never-ending improvement of a technique that makes use of the entire spectrum of the right hand. Thank you.
What led you to use the right hand little finger?
Well, that's probably a product of my engineering background. I started playing electric guitar when I was 12 years old, but didn't go to the classical guitar until I was in my second year as a music major, and 26 years old at Wayne State University in Detroit. And right away from my engineering background, I saw that guitarists that weren't using the little finger were losing 20% efficiency off their hand. And so I wanted to use it, but my guitar teacher and other guitarists said, we don't use the little finger. It puts the hand in an awkward hand position if you try to use the little finger. I sort of ignored them. I practiced my lessons and did everything the right way, but I went ahead and practiced a little bit with the little finger anyway behind my teacher's back, and it always put my hand in a wrong hand position according to him, but I could always play my lessons good. I was his best student, so he never really pushed me, but he kept always saying, we've got to work on your hand position, not realizing that the reason for it was that I was sneaking in the little finger behind his back.
How did you get started on this particular project?
Well, it's kind of a funny series of coincidences. Guitar Player magazine did a feature article on me in 1984, and one of the questions they asked me was, as your out background of engineer and a jazz guitarist turned to classical guitar, do you do anything unusual or different than other guitarists? And I was in my office teaching when the phone rang from the editor, and I said, well, for one thing, I use the little finger on the right hand. And he said, oh, really? How? And I reached over and grabbed my guitar and played the middle section of the Villa-Lobos Prelude No. 2. And he wrote it down and wrote it into the article. And as soon as the article came out, I had several letters, and one of them from a very well-known music historian, Matanya Ophi, and publisher. And he immediately wrote me a letter and said, that's a good project. Guitarists have been working on that since 1826. He reeled off 3 or 4 names of guitarists that had tried to use the little finger but had failed. And he said, that would be a good project for you to work on. So I turned in a proposal for a research grant here at the University of Texas at Arlington, where I teach. And it was accepted. I was given a summer research stipend, travel grant to go to South America, and then a sabbatical for the following year to follow it up.
How has your experience as an engineer and a jazz guitarist helped you along the way?
Well, my experiences as a jazz guitarist really helped me understand theory and harmony and how to improvise on the guitar. I find that very few classical musicians really understand theory, harmony, or know how to improvise, which is very important in composition. And that aspect was always very interesting to me. My engineering background taught me how to work and be efficient and be disciplined. I got my engineering degree in 1964 from General Motors Institute, which was probably the toughest degree plan in the world. We had a minimum of 20 credit hours per semester and normal credit hour of 25 hours. So we had to learn massive amounts of material in a short amount of time, get good grades, or our General Motors sponsoring plant would drop us. And I think that's what helped me out when I went to study music, was the fact that I had such a poor music background. I barely knew how to read music, but somehow I was able to get through both a bachelor and a master's degree because I was well disciplined from my engineering degree.
How long did it take you to adapt the little finger to your